Hello, everybody. I believe we are live. Hello, and thank you so much for watching our production of Midsummer Night's Dream. It is lovely to be here with you tonight. Normally, we would be in the same room with all of you wonderful people, snuggled up next to each other in theater seats. Unfortunately, we do not live in that world right now. So we thought that we would bring it to you in a new way, virtually. So we hope that you are all able to navigate through the links and watch the production. My name is Caitlin. I'm a student at the FSU Oslo Conservatory, and I played Bottom. Um, with this being said, we are working with technology today. We also had a hurricane in the last couple of days. So if Wi-Fi is funky, if we have technical difficulties, please give us some grace within that. And we're really excited to hear from all of you. Also, we have this beautiful thing called the chat function. So make sure that you are logged in either through Google or YouTube. And right below the screen, you should see the ability to chat. So we'd like to test that out and start seeing if you're able to do that. First, we want to know what your experience with Shakespeare has been. Have you studied it? Have you watched it? Do you love it? Are you a Shakespeare connoisseur? Are you a newbie when it comes to Shakespeare? All right, and while you start putting your answers in there, we're going to start our introductions. So I'm going to pass it to my fellow mechanicals. Chris H., take it away.
Hi, my name is Chris H., and I play Snout, and I'm going to pass it off to Peter Quince.
Hello. My name is Jacob, and I played Peter Quince, and I also starred as Moonshine with Rumple the Cat. And I believe that is it for the mechanicals this evening, so I'm going to toss it back to Kate.
All right, and then also from our mechanicals, we have Anna N., who was not with us tonight, but she played flute as well as the wonderful Thisbe. And then we also have Chris, who was not able to be with us as well, and he played Snug, our lion. And I'm going to pass it over to our fairies. Alex, will you take it away?
Hello, everyone. I'm Alex, and I played Titania. I'll pass it on over to the fabulous Puck.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and I played Puck. I'll pass it to the lovers. I'll pass it to Kenny.
Hey, everyone. I'm Kenny, and I play Demetrius. I'll send it over to Helena.
Hello. My name is Anna Beth, and I play Helena. Let me pass it over to the lovely Hermia.
Hi, my name is Nayari, and I play Hermia. I will pass it over to my Lysander.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liam. I play Lysander, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to the lovely Bottom.
Hello again. I would like to also say that Benita also was not able to be here tonight, and she was our wonderful Oberon as well as Aegeus. And last but not least, we have our wonderful director with us tonight. Will you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Celine Rosenthal, she, her, and I'm the Associate Artistic Director at Oslo Rep, and I had the pleasure of directing this piece with these lovely, lovely humans.
Wonderful. And I believe that is our full cast. We are met. Let's see, we have some statements coming in here. All right, so we have somebody who said that they have, oh, that's so sweet. Beautiful work in all parts, a great take on the play, and some amazing work by the actors. That's very, very sweet. Thank you. Oh, Sage is a newbie to Shakespeare. So welcome aboard. Also, we had a comment that somebody said, thank you to everyone involved for tackling such a project and finding ways to continue to bring theater to a society that so desperately needs such mesmerizing language. Bravo to you all. Incredible. So sweet. Does anybody want to talk about what that was to bring theater to a society so desperately in need?
Yeah, I can take a stab at it. I think, from my perspective as being a theater maker, that there is a hole in my heart right now in not being able to experience and share the magic of theater with other people. So these past few months have been for myself, this cohort, and I'm sure many other theater artists, a time to really mourn, but also find life in a new creative container. So I feel like this is kind of the fruit of our labors of trying to make theater again in the best way that we can possibly.
Absolutely. We also have another beautiful statement that came in. We have an FSU Oslo alum here, class of 2016. Johnny taught me so much about Shakespeare's language, and you all brought so much life to the language, and it made the story so vivid. Great production value. So appreciated. Thank you. That means a lot because Shakespeare language is difficult. So to hear that from fellow Shakespearean actors is a joy. All right, and then we also have someone, okay, we have someone who said, I have been a devotee of Shakespeare since high school and that they loved the production. Wonderful. Oh, we also have somebody who played Hermia in their 6th grade production. So, Nairi, look out. Okay, wonderful. We're gonna go ahead and love to start hearing some of your questions. We wanna know what you want to know. If you have questions for specific characters, questions about the process, we have Celine here. Go ahead and pick her brain. She also adapted the script and edited, so she wore many, many hats. One thing that is on everybody's mind is, how did you film this show during the pandemic? Anybody want to start us off with that answer?
I'll take a whack at it. Well, it was certainly a really fun challenge. It's normally when you're working on a film, you have the ability to have actors acting with each other, and our wonderful cast did a lot of their scenes with line prompting from our lovely stage manager, Nia Sharetta, who I have heard play all of the roles now brilliantly. And we were also, we accomplished getting everybody to be able to film themselves by sending out tech packages. So our lovely associate production manager, Mike Rogers, put together these assembled kits with an iPhone and a lighting kit and a microphone. Then everybody went out into the world to these locations that we were able to find, one of them in the backyard of our lovely costume designer, David Kovac. I say his name wrong every time, Kovac. I apologize, David. And also our props master, Frank J. Paul, transformed the Oslo rehearsal hall into a magical indoor forest so that we didn't have to send the actors out into the middle of the actual forest in the middle of the night, because that didn't sound terribly safe. And Alex Rodriguez and Chris Blonsky and Caitlin at a certain points, and Nairi and Liam and just about everybody at certain times picked up the camera to help us out with the cinematography, and it was enormously helpful. So it was an enormous team effort. And so that's what it was like doing it in COVID. Lots of masks, lots of social distancing. Anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, and lots of sweat.
You said a lot of sweat. Yes, it was so hot outside on given days. I don't know how you guys managed it. Like, luckily enough, Alex, Liam, and I did most of our shooting indoors, and we're lucky enough to be roommates throughout this, so we get to be in a little bit closer of quarters than everyone else is. But I think that was another part of the process. We just had to be very careful about interacting with each other across, like, being in the same spaces, making sure like we were wiping down props, or just like being careful of the keyboard, like things like that, just to be mindful of. But otherwise it was just like any other process. You just kind of like come in and do the work.
All right, we have some wonderful questions rolling in. And as we also answer these questions, feel free to go ahead and put anything that surprised you about the production. This was a very unique situation in the way that we filmed this, so you're welcome to go ahead and throw that in too. Our first question is, this person was interested in the performer's perspectives, playing to a camera versus playing to a live audience. Who wants to take that one? Jacob?
Yeah, I'll take that. The alumni, the 2016 alumni would know, and I'm sure that anybody who watched really knows, one of the best things about Shakespeare is the ability to play off of an audience and feed off of the audience, and performer and audience member alike are all kind of in the same cauldron. And so this process was very, very different than any other Shakespeare production that I've ever been a part of. And to kind of touch on, Kate, what the question you asked earlier, like one of the things about this process that was so exciting for me is we only had like a week together rehearsing this. And one of the joys of this process has been seeing the finished product, like not being able to act across from your scene mate, and on top of that, not being able to play off the audience and the energy of the audience and use the beautiful language that Shakespeare provides with a group of people is challenging. And I just want to throw kudos to Celine really fast, because we had maybe a 60-minute version of this in rehearsals, and then Celine produced a 40-minute version that you all watched tonight. And so to see how she was able to shape and craft what we had made and filmed into what you saw was a real joy, and it was very surprising. That I can speak for myself. I didn't necessarily anticipate this version, but her eye was so sharp, and her ability to craft a 40-minute version that students will be able to get the essence. She found the essence of it, and I think that was so surprising and beautiful about this socially distanced process, that in the rehearsal room, you know exactly what you're doing, you know exactly the arc, everybody is on the same page. And in this process, that we didn't have that luxury of being in the same space the entire time. So it was a pleasant surprise to see what Celine had crafted, after everything's done.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely an experience watching it after the fact, because it's so different. First of all, Eva Slane was in the house tonight, and she said that she loves the show and everything about it. Thank you so much, Eva. And then another person said it was like a love letter to Sarasota. I love that. Okay, so how hard was it to react to another person who is in a totally separate place? Seems almost impossible, as this person said. Does anybody want to talk about that and our relationship with our beautiful stage manager, Mia? Kenny?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, yeah. So there are really kind of three ways now, I guess, of that we're used to performing. We have theater, which is kind of the situation that we've been training for these last 3 years, 2.5 years. Then you have film, where there are other people on the crew who are helping to, adjust the lighting and placing the camera at an angle that makes you look good. And then you have the Zoom world, where it's just you doing everything, positioning the camera while balancing on one foot and trying to say your line in a coherent way. It was really difficult, to be completely honest. But like Nia and Celine were on Zoom with us on one camera on one phone while we were filming on another phone. So it was a whole different kind of art form. And also another thing too that's very different with theater and film and the Zoom world is that in theater you tend to rehearse and kind of workshop a scene in a particular way, whereas with Zoom and film you do multiple different takes, multiple different interpretations of a scene. So it's difficult whenever you don't have that acting partner right there with you. So the director as stage manager requests different interpretations of the text that you're given. And so that's how it's very different from theater.
I think something that was really helpful is that we did have a week of working together with our scene partners on Zoom. So we did have that ability to kind of form those relationships with each other and then kind of bring them along with us in spirit when we were recording. So while we were filming, we might not have had our scene partner there if we weren't able to, but we at least did have that ability to work with them. Or, maybe they were shouting their line from 12 feet away on the other bridge. It just depends. Yeah. All right. So our next question actually was about the phone. So as Kenny said, we actually were all sent iPhone 10s. So everything was recorded through iPhone videos, sometimes on the selfie side, sometimes on the other side, depending on our setup. We were sent ring lights, tripods. We had a mini one. We also had a large one. And then let's see. Do you feel, okay, this was another question that came in. Do you feel Shakespeare's language made it easier to film without your actual scene partner because the words are so capable of igniting your imagination?
Well, I'll say just after studying in Johnny's class all last year of just having the time to really dig into Shakespeare's language, it was like lighting a flame up under it, being able to really play and work in it in a way that was sort of outside a class setting. And I think the heightened language of the text, what I think Johnny would describe as like the tactile sort of feeling of words in your body and hearing them in a room, hearing them bounce off the space, is a lively experience. I think the language always brings up really strong emotions, at least for me personally. So even without speaking to someone directly across from me, the language itself feels so full that it just sort of comes out that way. Yeah.
Mm. And a really, really big part of that too is the time that we've worked with Johnny. We've brought up Johnny a couple of times. He's actually our Shakespeare teacher that we work with second year. So we spend about 3 hours a day, 4 days a week, a lot of time working on it. And initially we were going to have the opportunity to do Romeo and Juliet in the Selby Gardens. We had about 1 full week of rehearsal when everything kind of changed as we knew it with COVID. So a lot of us were also very excited to finally be able to work together in this. And we're very grateful to have had Johnny along the way too, that we can email him and be in contact with him. Also, this is another really important question. What conversation and intent goes into casting and gender?
Alex, why don't you start? And then I'll
Okay, great. Yeah, we both unmuted at the same time, so it was. Yeah, I think that is a phenomenal question, and it is something that we were asking ourselves as a full group and as individuals as we move through this. I think an important thing a lot of people wonder, at least in our theater bubble, is how do we keep Shakespeare relevant, and what are the parts of Shakespeare that we need to keep bringing to the forefront to societies? And I think there are some parts of Shakespeare that will forever be important lessons and stories for the human experience. And then there are other things that are no longer needed or of use. And so I feel that when we were coming into this, we wanted to know what is a version of this story that needs to be told right now. And for me, what I really kind of came to being able to play 2 characters is the difference between the settings of this play. We have Athens, which is that beautiful city, like peak society, and then we have the wild jungle of Florida, and how very different and constraining those things can be in different ways. So I think for me, being able to play the Duke of Athens, there is really leaning into the bricks that have been laid for society, and then being able to be the fairy queen. It's to show that maybe there are some walls that constrict rather than support. So that was a really lovely experience for me as an actor on this particular journey. And Celine, if you had any more thoughts, I would love to hear too.
Absolutely. And thank you for speaking so beautifully to that, Alex. And the other thing that I would bring to the table is that this project is so much fun for a director's brain every year because you are handed the opportunity of an ensemble. You know the actors that you're going to work with, and then you have the opportunity to let your imagination run wild with how you're going to use their various talents and strengths and figure out what's going to stretch them and delight them and is going to work best for the piece. And so I was gifted this lovely group of humans to be in this show, and that helped to inspire the casting for this, is the people that you see in front of you. And I was also really excited about the idea of what happens if we're looking at Hermia's mother instead of Hermia's father. How does that change the story? And we always see Bottom as a gentleman, and what happens if it's played by Caitlin, who is delightful and wonderful in her own way. And so I think that's part of the joy, and gender comes into that. So that's what I've got to say.
Thank you, Celine. Yeah, it was really, really exciting to see. I think we were all really excited seeing the cast list just to see how much was going to be switched up, because it does make the production our own in a unique way. Which, I mean, it was already very unique and different because of the medium we were working with, but to be able to explore and dig deeper in those. Also, okay, so this was a wonderful statement that came in. Watching this production made my heart soar. Shakespearean theater is alive. There is hope. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that you say there is hope because we all believe it, but we need others too to believe it as well. Jacob, when you proclaimed the dog with a cat, it had this person howling. Great work. Does anybody want to introduce the cat, maybe?
He's currently taking a cat nap.
Yes, it's Chris Hayhurst loaned us his beautiful cat Rumple, he fulfilled all of my greatest directorial dreams, because ever since I was a tiny human, I have wanted to direct a cat in something, and we did that in this production. So life goals.
There were a few hints here and there in the very beginning of rehearsals that Celine wanted to use animals in this production. Just a few.
A few.
All right. So what helps you get into character? What was the experience of getting into character, and how was it different because of the socially distanced nature of this production?
I think that's a great question, and first off, all of these questions have been extraordinary. You guys are very good at this, but this was exceptionally hard. I think that especially filming on your own, it was very, very hard to breathe and find time to get into character. My experience was, normally as actors, we have, especially in a play, but, I don't have a lot of experience in movies, so I can't really talk on that. But in plays, you have a rehearsal process, you have a tech process where you nail everything down. And then every night, more or less, there's like room for improv, but for the most part, you know what you're going to do. And in this process, because we were socially distant and we were operating the camera, we were making sure angle was right, we were worried about airplanes flying over, we were worried about mosquitoes on us. There were like 50,000 different stimuli that we're just not used to. One thing that I found myself having to remind myself, and to be perfectly honest, I would forget sometimes, is to take a moment and breathe and remember that where I am and what I'm doing and how lucky I am to be doing what I'm doing. And it's easy to get caught up in the moment and forget the perspective of exactly what we're doing, to make sure that the camera angle is right. And so I found that exceedingly difficult in this, I think Kenny named it beautifully, where there's theater, there's film, and then there's, this hybrid, which we found. And so I think just like anything, just remembering to breathe and remembering to take a moment to make sure you're completely present in whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter if it's acting, whatever you're doing, just breathe and try to find present is so important. And, I think this was a beautiful exercise in that.
Yeah, and something you said, Jacob, the fact that we're lucky to be able to be doing this right now. There are actors across the country right now who are out of work or are not getting the opportunities. People are making their work. They're finding a way to keep theater going right now. With Broadway even being closed through May and so much uncertainty, it's exciting to be in a program right now where we are at least able to be focused on what we want to be doing. Because that's not something that a lot of people are able to do at the moment. So that was a gift. And also, having Celine and Mia on the other end on Zoom, they were both so patient of like, 1 second, I need to go get my sweat rag, or or how did you want that song? What was that? They were really, really great about working with us in a way that, like, even though we had our shot lists for the day would be so full and it would be such a packed schedule, they would work with us and keep that flexibility to make sure that as actors, we were still able to have a soul as well. So also we have another question that came in. Unlike stage where you don't get a do-over with a live audience, did you find yourself doing several takes? And if so, is there a blooper reel? Celine.
There is a blooper reel that I have been working on just for my own joy. So if the actors are ever comfortable with it becoming public, then we'll see about sharing it. But they have to feel good about it because I find it joyful because they're all so delightful, but nobody should be embarrassed. And yes, we did multiple takes of every single shot. When you're directing, you want to make sure that you have a thing called coverage. So I want to make sure when I'm planning out a shot list that I have multiple different choices for each angle that we do, for each shot that we do, because you never know when some beautiful, beautiful take that has a wonderful moment of acting is going to have sound that doesn't work, or the color correction or the focus is just not going to work, or we're going to have a continuity issue. And so, yes, so many takes. I don't think that there was anything that we did in one take, actually. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And then usually, even if we had one that like would maybe be ready, it's like, okay, and one more just to be safe.
Always for safety. Whenever I say one more time, I think it's also always a lie, just so we all know. It's always more than one.
Which I think in some ways was also a little bit of a blessing, because in live theater, once it's out there, that's what the audience sees, you know, so it's also nice that you have the room to play and that you do get a redo, and then she can go and pick the best one, or whatever one she preferred. Also, somebody did ask who tackled the editing for the final cut.
That was all me. So the all of the editing from beginning to end is me, for better or worse. It was a lot of fun.
I think for the better. I was amazed going to see it because we didn't know what to expect, and even from the very opening sounds of the
that I have to give a shout out to. That was the amazing Lizzie Hagstedt, who composed an entire score for this show in 3 days. When I finally got the rough cut done, I basically was like, Lizzie, I need music. And she composed music for us, and she recorded all of the instruments, and that's her singing, and she did everything. So major props to Lizzie Hagstedt.
That's awesome. Oh, right. Let's see. The scene, oh dear. The scene with Bottom and the different beards seemed like something that would only work in a video version. Were there other opportunities you feel it would work or were there any other opportunities you feel would work better in a video versus a stage version? I mean, the beards was definitely, we literally did a monologue in every single beard. So, and we named the different beards. One of them was named Gandalf. One of them was Hagrid. Each of the beard. Yep, every beard had a name. So, in the final clip, you have those little moments, but we had, I think, even more joy filming them, especially in, 97-degree real feel weather with fur on your face. It was great.
Yeah, I would add to the possibility of doing a quick change from Theseus to Titania would be near impossible. Nairi, beyond being a fabulous actor, is also a fabulous makeup artist. She did that entire look. First time we did it, it took us 2 hours. So yeah, if this was a staged version, it would have happened. So the magic of film made that possible.
And to touch on that,
and I believe,
we wouldn't be able to have
go
the
ahead. I was just going to say that. I'm going to stop talking. Go ahead, Jacob.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say we couldn't have the close-up to see the work that had been done. That's one thing that film does, is it really focuses in on one thing. And to echo Alex, like Nairi's craftsmanship as an artist in that way is unbelievably good. And we got to see it, from a foot away, which on stage you wouldn't be able to see. So I just wanted to name that as well.
Yeah, and what I was just going to add is that we do have a beautiful lapse video of the work that Nairi did, so you can actually see the transformation that happened, and I believe it's probably listed right next to our video on YouTube, so you'll have to check that out once we're done here. So we do have a couple minutes. We had another statement that came in that said, "Thank you all so much. This was so much fun to be able to see a live theater in a stressful time. You were all amazing and have great futures ahead of you. Thank you." And then we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Oh, also, Nairi did mention that we also had the magical fairies coming in and out. So that's something that was very unique to film. And then our final question would be, tell us about your program and why you're in this production. Chris B is not here today. He often likes to talk about this. Does somebody want to take a go at it?
I will. We are lucky and blessed enough to have been the 12 people chosen for our particular year to join FSU and Oslo's Conservatory here in Sarasota, Florida. As we've gone through our studies and during our third year, we're supposed to be actors or as a part of the rep. But unfortunately, since the season is in a little bit of flux, as this world is in a bit of flux, we had to modify the way that we were going to do our tour. But that's how we have all come to be a part of this process. And that's what we do here.
And I think we've all been really lucky to be able to build this relationship with our ensemble over the last few years too. And I think that makes a really big difference working on this kind of a production in such a stressful time. So I can speak for myself when I say I'm very grateful for the group of people on this stage. Also, so we're going to go ahead and start closing it up because we are reaching the end of our time. So we want to thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and watch our virtual film, and for taking the time engaging with you. Truly, you have been such a wonderful group to discuss all of this with. These questions have been wonderful. It's been a joy after a long week. So thank you. If you want to check us out, they actually have some theater classes online. We have classes available for 6th grade through adult. So you can check that out at the Oslo Rep. And then you can also check us out on Instagram at Oslo Rep. So there's tons of posts from MIDSUMMER. If you have more questions that we didn't get to tonight, you can submit them there and we'll make sure that you get an answer as well. And with that, it was wonderful to be with you. And thank you all for being here tonight, everybody who's sitting here with me as well.